I'm joined this week by Emanuel Unge and Daniel Koval Gullberg, who are the founders of Cuebids. Fantastic app. So thank you both for being here.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for having
us.
us.
Well, my first question is always, how did you learn bridge?
I think Daniel started learning bridge before me, so he can go first.
I go first. Okay. So I grew up, I played chess, and then when I started high school, I had a teacher who ran a chess and bridge club, and I went there mainly for the chess, but I got to try out bridge, and I really loved it. I was sort of growing a bit tired of chess at the time, and I think there were two aspects of bridge that really resonated with me. One was the social aspect, where you sort of, if you're playing a chess tournament, you ever seen it, it's like a room full of people who are just sitting quietly at the board. Whereas if you're playing bridge, you can still sort of chat and have fun at the table. And then not to mention that like bridge is a partnership game, so there's sort of all other social aspects of it rather than just playing for yourself. And the other one I think was I liked bridge being a bit more bite-sized, where you play a board, it takes a couple of minutes, whereas a chess game is like hours and hours. And if you make a little mistake at the end, like all of that work can go sort of lost. So I started playing bridge a lot. Sort of quickly switched over to it. A couple of years later, I joined the Swedish junior squad. Played there until I was no longer a junior.
All right, Emmanuel, how about you?
I started playing bridge pretty late. I come from a family of card games and games in general, so we played a lot of games. And my mom and my dad, they used to play bridge at home a lot, but I never really tried until I was 25 years old. So I got to be a junior for like 6 months or something like that. So yeah, pretty late start, but fell in love with it because of the social aspects. And eventually I learned that the game is also very good.
So how much do you guys play these days?
Roughly one session a week, I would say, maybe a little bit more sometimes. But
Yeah, it's the same for me. When I stopped being a junior almost 10 years ago now, I started playing a lot less. But yeah, one time a week at the club maybe. I recently moved to the US now and don't really have the same club scene here as we had in Stockholm.
All right, you guys both have like real jobs, right?
Cuebids is my full-time profession now.
Cuebids is now full time. That's amazing. Yeah. So let's talk about Cuebids for a minute. How did this idea come about?
It's a tricky question, but it grew out of an interest of solving scenarios. So I started dabbling in scripting and stuff for evaluating positions, because I'm a programmer, so I love to do that kind of things. I think eventually I was playing with my now wife Erika, and we were trying to find ways to practice bidding, and it felt like there was a big lack of decent software to practice bidding. So I had an idea that we should make something, or I should make something, and started making it a little bit on the side. I had a real job back then, so I just spent some hours here and there, especially during COVID. I spent a few hours a week. Yeah, that was the idea. And then there was another website at the time called Correct Contract, made by another Swedish bridge player, Eric. And that site was very good, but it was very bare bones. It did have some of the core functionality that Cuebids has, but it was lacking in a lot of areas. So I wanted to make an improvement on that. And so that's what we did. And during some time, I think during COVID, I called Daniel to join and to finish the project. It was slipping through my hands a little bit. Like most projects I do on the side, you start it, you get to like 20-30% done, and then you're like, it's not that fun. So it was slipping through my hands, but I felt like it was worth enough to keep going, but I needed a partner or more motivation, more help. And that's when Daniel came in.
So what was your contribution then, Daniel, when you came into it?
Emanuel contacted me and sort of showed they had a bit of proof of concept. I really liked the idea, and as I said, this was during COVID lockdown, so it was a great time to spend some time working on it. I mean, we built out sort of the rest of Cuebids together. We would often during the weekends have a sit together remotely and work together and code it. And we did that for the spring of 2021 and sort of got a first beta version that we released to our friends. And then during the fall, we rebuilt it a bit. And then during the spring of 2022, we released the first version which I think by then was quite different from sort of the embryo Emanuel had created. I mean, you have to try things to sort of see what works and what doesn't. And you get ideas during the work and how things should, like things you could make.
Yeah, we had tons of ideas during that initial like months, and we were dabbling in all of them. And some of them got eventually scrapped, and some of them was, okay, this one we should improve on, and yeah, iterative process for sure.
So pre-Cuebids, when I wanted to practice bidding with a partner, we went on BBO and set up a partnership bidding table. What did you feel like was missing from that experience that you wanted to create something new?
So there was two main things that was the driving force, as I remember it. This can be a little bit flawed, obviously, since it's been a few years. But as I remember it, the main two things was the asynchronous nature of Cuebids that I wanted to have. Basically, I don't want to have my partner online at the same time. I want to be able to have my spots, bid those spots, and then wait for my partner whenever they are ready, they can bid and put it back to me. So that was the main thing. And the other thing was getting like a simple way to get like very specific practice areas. On BBO, you can create scripts, which will force distributions across north, south, east, and west. You can do a lot of things with that script, but it's very annoying to set up. It's very annoying to like store, and it didn't work perfectly. But also, like, the idea early was to have it in your phone to get notified when it's your turn and stuff like that. Even though we didn't have that in the very very beginning. Once everything is connected, we have the asynchronous nature, we have the notifications, it's your turn, and we have the ease of access to the different practice areas. Just that little package of a product was enticing enough.
I can also add one more thing. In my junior days, I used correct contract quite a lot. And after you bid a hand, you sort of, okay, now you get to see partner's hand and your own. And I sort of had to figure out, did we do the right thing or not? Whereas in Cuebids, you can get more instant feedback by the stars. And I mean, they're not perfect, but they will give you an idea of if we did something good or very bad.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, you're completely right. I completely missed that. That was probably the first driver, the absolute first driver. Is like I did these scripts to simulate different positions, like I said early on, to get like, okay, should you bid 3-no trump on this hand, or should you just pass the invite maybe? And getting that instant feedback once you're done, that was for sure one of the first ones that we were implementing.
So the biggest complaint that I hear, why am I starting with complaints? But we're talking about it now, is that the ideal contract sometimes feels unrealistic. Can you tell us how that's computed, how you decide what the ideal contract is and why sometimes it feels unrealistic?
Yes, and this is something we've been improving over time. It used to be much worse. Now it's actually pretty good. Still, there are some optimal contracts here and there that seems extremely unrealistic. But there are many different aspects of this. The first one, the most common complaint is, why would we find this contract? Like, we have 17 opposite 6. And we should be in 3-no trump, let's say. And the answer here is that we don't care if it's realistic or not to find the contract. Just focusing on what is the actual best contract. If you're playing in like a pairs tournament, on the score sheet, you would see what the par contract was on any board. And that's kind of the same philosophy that we have. We are going to show you the best contract. It doesn't matter if it's unrealistic or not. That's one aspect. The second aspect is that how do we determine what is the best contract? And here we use a double dummy solver to over 1,000 or more simulations for each spot, which means that sometimes, especially boards where the double dummy or the robot in that case would have many different options to different lines they can go through. And when they have many lines, they can solve a lot of different positions. So double dummy is not perfect in that sense to estimate a perfect contract. Unfortunately, there is no other realistic option. The other option would be either human intervention, and you would go through every single board and see if is this makeable by any stretch of your imagination, or is it double dummy solver way too forgiving here? Or you could have like a robot that goes through every board and plays it 1,000 times and see if it makes it every time and stuff like that. But it's not really realistic when you have tens of thousands of boards being generated and played every day on Cuebids.
It also cuts both ways a little bit. So, I mean, Declarer plays perfectly double dummy, but Defense also plays perfectly double dummy. So I think on average it favors Declarer more, which is why you see these things.
So how often does a contract have to make to become the ideal contract? Like, you know, I'll see it says I should be in a Grand Slam, but it's on a finesse or something like that. How do you calculate how often the thing needs to make to become the ideal contract?
Broadly based on the imp table. So if the expected value of your contract is close enough to not lose any imps to the best one, then you will get 3 stars. So it depends on what the expected value of, in this case, maybe the alternative contract, the small slam is. If so say that always makes, and you expect to make, say, 30 or something in a major vulnerable slam. If the Grand Slam makes often enough so that, like, taking when you make it and get 2210 and go down and lose 100 on the, if you average those out, then it becomes sort of better or close enough to 1430, then you will get 3 stars for that as well. And if it is a bit higher than 1430, then the small slam would not offer 3 stars, because then the Grand Slam would be better.
Yeah, it should pretty closely mimic what is the best option in real life when you're playing a team match. But sometimes it's a little bit off because we don't use strictly imps, but we use expected value, the total score of a board. But it can be very enlightening because sometimes you say, okay, this grand is on a finesse, why would I play a grand? But then you realize, okay, wait a second, the small slam is also on the same finesse. I didn't think about that, because if they take out your only stopper in a side suit, and then you have to finesse the trump suit, and if that doesn't make, you're gonna go down in the small slam as well. Now it's clear that the grand slam is better than the small slam, and the expected value for the Grand Slam is much higher than playing in the game, even on the finesse. So it can be very enlightening sometimes when you're like, wait a second, this is super weird, but let's double check what's going on there.
Do you think it's changing people's understanding of what the best contract is? Like, I was kind of taught, don't be in a Grand Slam on a finesse, you know, that the EV is not right.
You see, in real life, it is very, very different because you might not be 100% sure that the opponents are in the small slam. Even if the opponents are in the small slam, if they are missing the small slam 10% of the time, now definitely you should not be on a grand, on a finesse. So that's where that's coming from, that you shouldn't dabble in grand slams on a finesse because you never know what the opponents are doing. Maybe they're not even in small slam. So yeah, that can be enlightening, I think.
You're not taking that into account when you're
calculating
the best. Okay.
No, we just have the expected value straight up. It's pretty clear how it works once you understand how it works. There is no ifs and buts. It's just expected value, and that's it.
Do lots of pairs bid the same hands? Is that how it works, and you're compared against the world?
So you are, I mean, for just getting your stars, you just compare it against the double dummy scores. But if you go and play a random practice hand, or if you go play one of our daily or weekly events, you can see that there are hundreds of other players who do bid the same hand. So you can afterwards go and check how they did it, and you will see lots of the world's top players there, and I think that's been really good, and it's very educational to see how they handle the same situation you had. You thought maybe, okay, in this situation, should I pass or bid again? And you can say, okay, everyone else bid. Okay, I guess I should have done that.
So as I've been talking to top players for this podcast, I'm not sure if it's everyone, but almost everyone has mentioned that in their regular partnerships, they're using Cuebids. So first, that must feel pretty good, right? Like, that was the reason you did this, and it's working. So first, congratulations and thank you. Greg and I use it all the time, and I think you're right. It's that asynchronous aspect that really makes it work, that, you know, we don't have to find a time when we're both free. We can just have 5 minutes and bid 20 hands. Do you have a sense of, like, how many top pairs are using this regularly?
So on Cuebids, you can get like marked as a professional, and your name will stand out in orange. And I know that we have over 100 of those. So we have a lot of pros that we have highlighted. But then obviously there are many more pros that we have not highlighted because they have to kind of apply to get this, and most just won't do that anyway. Or maybe don't even know that they can do it. I expect that the majority of top bridge players playing in like world championships and stuff like that have or use Cuebids on a daily basis or close to a daily basis.
What a gold mine of data, these best pairs in the world bidding these hands. How are you using that to improve the site, to improve bidding?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that we do, like Daniel mentioned, is that if you play in a daily event, which a lot of pros likes to do, you can compare your auctions to what the professionals are doing. So that, I think that's the main way we're using the data, is to show our other novice users or intermediate users or other pros what the best in the world is doing in an exact scenario that you are in. And I think that's super valuable. We have thought about some events where you could play against a pro pair without them actually bidding, because we can just draft their boards from previous practice sessions.
The other thing you can do today is if you go and play a ranked challenge on Cuebids, you will get matched against a random other pair. And some of the pros do play that, so it can be a fun challenge to get matched up against some of the top pairs there.
So Greg and I just set up a set of boards, and usually we constrain the hands to practice things that we want to work on, but that's all we ever do. But I know there are a lot of other features, and you've talked about some of them. I think like when we started, most of that stuff didn't exist, and I just haven't learned. So tell me, what else should I be doing? What are some of the other features?
The main one, the most fun one and the most popular one is the daily event. And it starts midnight in Europe, so CET 0000. And then it's only 8 boards that you need to finish throughout the entire day. It's like 200 or maybe even sometimes 300 pairs playing in that event. And then you get like a leaderboard with whoever amassed the most stars, and you can compare your session to any other specific pro pair that you wanna look at, or you can look at board by board. You can see, okay, I wonder how Joe Grew bid this board. So I think that's the most fun, like immediate fun part of Cuebids, and also very educational. And then we have the same thing, but for the whole week. So we have a weekly tournament as well, the weekly event, which is 24 boards instead, and same concept applies. And then we have the challenges, like Daniel mentioned. So you can pick your partner, and you can challenge someone random, and you will be matched up on about the same level. And then if you win, you will climb the ranks, and if you lose, you will drop ranks. So you can try to reach the highest rank and see how well you do there, and just have fun playing against some really, really good opponents or friends. And on that note, you can also directly challenge a friend pair. So you and your partner can set up challenges whenever you want against 2 specific friends on your friend list, say your other teammates, for instance. So you can play these challenges against each other within your bridge team or with your friend group or something like that.
And those challenges are all just random hands? I can't set constraints for those?
Right. Even the friendly ones are random hands. This is, however, something that we want to improve. We want to add that feature so you can use deal types and scenarios, which are 2 other features in Cuebids, in conjunction with friendly challenges.
If you just practice without these sort of events and tournament challenges, turn on the advanced robots for opposition bidding. That will give you a lot more different situations to try to handle when you get opposition bidding, and they do all sorts of stuff, and it will put you in situations you will need to practice. Because in modern bridge today, opponents never let you bid. Everyone bids on no points, and you really need to be prepared for that. And the other 2 things Emanuel mentioned quickly is you can select deal types. When you start your practice, there is a drop-down list where you can pick specific kinds of hands that are pre-prepared. It can be like, I want to practice my 1 no-trump opener, so I will select that opener has a 15-17 no-trump. Or other things. And then there is maybe the more advanced feature called scenarios, where you can create your own deal type. So you can specify exactly what every hand should have. You select something from a drop down or fill in like a form, and you can create whatever sort of scenario or deal type you want to practice.
And I love that those things are public and like you can use other people's in the community. Like Greg and I play Gazilli, and we just found someone had created a scenario for Gazilli, and was like, great, right? So you guys haven't had to do it all yourselves. You're tapping into the community, which is really cool. So I've heard a lot of juniors obsessing about their ranking on Cuebids, which I think is funny because I didn't even know I had one. So how does that ranking work?
So the ranking system is only used in challenges. We have a specific challenge type, which is the one I mentioned earlier, where you can climb the ranks. That is called ranked challenge, and you get paired against someone on random. And if you win, you climb, and if you lose, you go down. We have some other data metrics, let's say. So we have how many stars you've gathered, which can be interesting. So we have a top 10 list of whoever has the most stars, but that's more of how much have you been using Cuebids? How insane are you? And then recently we launched something called Leak Finder, which is a new feature that you can find your weak areas in your game. It's not really a ranking system by any stretch, but you can see if, for instance, your slam bidding is subpar or below average. And if it is, you can drill down into that and see why, and find the boards where you messed up the slam auctions. And this is drafted from your practice sessions. Here you don't need to do anything special.
Is that compared to the double dummy best result or to other people and pairs bidding the same hands?
Both. Your score is compared against double dummy, but then you are also compared on average to everyone else to figure out, okay, maybe you are actually losing a little bit of value in defensive bidding or slam bidding.
So you can say, for example, on this slam, you got this week an average of 2.3 stars in slam bidding, and it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? That sounds bad. I want 3 stars, but I mean, it's not realistic maybe to be perfect on every kind of hand. So then you can say, okay, well, average on Cuebid was actually 2.1 or something. So I mean, you can probably don't beat yourself up. Like 2.3 was fine as well. But then, as Emanuel said, you can still drill down and say, okay, which individual boards could we have done better on?
Some of the top pairs out there who are using this, do you have a sense of how many hands they're bidding in a day, a week, a month?
So obviously that varies a lot between different pros, but for instance, I think Ola Rimstedt, I think he averages 52-100 per day. Something like that.
Wow.
And one thing we didn't mention earlier when we were talking about the features, that is you can also play with the robot. So if you don't even have a partner, you can play with her. There's a lot of people that do that as well, even including me. Usually a lot of the time I just want to play through the daily and see if there is anything interesting going on, get some feedback on how everything is working. So I would just pick Leah, go through the boards really quickly, and I think that can be a lot of fun as well.
So I had kind of thought that Leah was exclusive to Interbridge, but obviously I was wrong about that. How does that collaboration work?
It was very early on in Interbridge's life and Cuebids' life. We have a good relationship with Stefan, and we just decided that I wanted to integrate a robot on Cuebids, and they said, this is fine. We just mentioned that it's from Interbridge. We have renamed the bot, so it actually is called Leah Interbridge, so it's clear that it's coming from Interbridge, and then we could have it on the site. So huge thank you to Stefan.
Luke, who has developed it, has done an amazing job basically doing it all on his own. And I mean, we have done a bit of robot development for Cuebids, and we know it's hard. And he's done an amazing job.
How good do you think Leah is at bidding? I mean, you must have some stats of how people do with Leah compared to with other humans.
She's good. I typically get like in the top of the leaderboard, but not winning. Very rarely do we see Leah win the daily or the weekly event, but she is pretty good. I would say definitely in the top of the robots available, at least.
Do you notice a significant uptick in the weeks leading up to a big tournament, like for example the World Championships a few weeks ago?
Yeah, use-wise, yes. Not too many new players, but lots of usage. People practice more before a big event. like the Nationals or the World Championship or something like that. And then after the event usually is where we see an increase in new users, because then at the event, the few that doesn't use Cuebids get introduced to it by other teammates and stuff like that. So usually it spreads during those events.
I mentioned to Emanuel the other day that when I was going home from Denmark, they had organized a bus shuttle to the airport, and they were picking up players from the hotels. And I sat in the back and heard some people in the front who sounded like they didn't know each other too well, and one of them was like, "Yeah, I gotta try Cuebids. It's the best. It's the best."
How about newer players, intermediate players, who aren't near that expert level? Are a lot of them using it? How is their use different from the world-class partnership use?
Yeah, so I think Cuebids is a perfect match for strong players, and an even more perfect match for intermediate players, where you can practice and you can get the feedback from what the pros are doing. For novices or for beginners, I think from the groups of beginners that have actually gone through the introduction steps and understood how Cuebids work, they love it. We clearly have some issues getting beginners on board at the very start of their bridge journey, especially if they don't have a coach that already knows how Cuebids works and they can show them face to face. They have to go through our YouTube guides and stuff like that. And lots of beginners are also not too tech savvy, let's say. So it can be another hurdle on top of that. Something that I would like to work on and improve the beginner experience, but it's a tough one for sure.
So there are different levels of membership, right? What do you get at the different levels?
Yeah, so there are 4 levels of membership. We have the free version, which means you can still practice like an infinite amount, but you can only use no robots or the basic robots for opposition. And you can also not pick these deal types or the scenarios that we were talking about. Actually, you can use the advanced robots as well, but that is limited. So when you're a free user, you get 48 tickets to spend during a month, and those tickets can be used towards daily events, weekly events, or practicing normal sessions with advanced robots. One board will draw 1 ticket from your account. And then we have the 3 tiers of subscription, which is Club, Diamonds, and Hearts. They unlock other features on Cuebids. So they unlock deal types, they unlock scenarios, they unlock groups, like I mentioned, and like printing and lots of different features across the app. But then on top of that, you also get more tickets to spend during a month. For Heart, you have an infinite amount.
Is there spades coming?
It's something I've considered. I've had a few ideas, but I don't really have anything clear that I want to provide from that. But no, we don't have any spades coming, at least not yet.
What's on the horizon? What can we look forward to as upcoming features?
So, I mean, we got lots of feedback from the community, which has been great throughout the history. But one specific feature we talked about the other day was to make it a bit easier to, after a board, see where did I go wrong. It's easy to see, okay, I didn't get many stars, but I'm not entirely sure what I did wrong. And today, as I said, you can go through and see how other people bid it, but that's still a bit of manual labor. So it would be, we think really cool if you could get more about, okay, your auction finished, and like, boom, okay, you bid 2 hearts here, and no one else did that. They bid 3 hearts. You should maybe have considered doing that instead, improving that kind of feedback. So the other thing we discussed is aimed maybe more towards the novice people we talked about, who say you're bidding a hand and you're not quite sure what should I do now. And even if you say you know your own system or you're playing with Leah, you can get an explanation during the bidding of what all the bids would mean. It still might not be clear which bid you should pick. So we're thinking it would be great if you could have some kind of, okay, we're practicing, I just want to know what should I do now, like get some help, like, okay, what do either Leah or some other players, what did they do in my situation?
Greg and I used the chat feature a lot. Was that part of the initial idea of having the chat built in to talk about a specific hand?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that very clearly. We built first just that you could bid a set. And then when we had done that, and this was way before it was released, and I was like, okay, I think we should add a chat now. I was like, okay, well, that would be cool, but like people can just use those other chats. It's not really the core functionality. But he convinced me that it was a good idea, and we built it. And I think that will really turn out to be a great decision, because just having a dedicated chat right next to the board where like this specific bid or auction happened is really useful.
And I imagine the better pairs use that a lot. They're not just bidding 50 hands a day, like they're digging in and what would it mean if I doubled, and do you agree with this preempt and things like that. Am I right about that?
Yeah, for sure. There's tens of thousands of messages every day on Cuebids in these private chats, so I think people are using it extensively. So maybe sometimes just to blame their partner, but that's also included in Bridge.
I also like the flagging feature. Tell us how that works.
So on any board, you can click a little flag icon, which basically temporarily saves it for your account, which means that you can, from the start page, you can filter out all of the boards that you or your partner has flagged. So you can say, okay, this is something that you want to discuss, or maybe your partner want to discuss it. And then you can have a phone call or something, and you can go through all of the boards that you want to discuss. So you don't have to do it immediately. You can save the discussion for later.
Do you have a sense like how many hands on a typical day or a typical month get bid on Cuebids?
It's over 10,000, but I am not sure exactly how much. I think it varies a little bit between 10 to 20,000. Actually, it's probably a little bit more now, because the last time I did this metric, it was quite some time ago. So I would guess towards 20K per day. Maybe even more. I should check that.
What has the Swedish reaction to this been? Like, do you get more in Sweden as a hometown company?
The Swedish reception of Cuebids has been great from the get-go. The Swedish usage of Cuebids is still number one in the world. Even though our community is obviously much smaller than the US, we have more than 1,000 Swedish active players every, I think, week or so. So which is a significant portion of like intermediate players in Sweden.
Most of the user growth have been completely organic. We haven't done much marketing. And I mean, it started like the patient zero was in Stockholm from us. So it sort of spread from that point over the world, which has been really fun. I think also just Swedes are very interested in bidding in general. It's quite fun. So like we're right next to Norway, and they are very much focused on the play and not so much on the bidding. And in Sweden, we are super focused on the bidding and not so much on the play.
Do you work with the Swedish Federation or any other federations?
Yeah, we have some agreements here and there, especially for juniors, because on Cuebids we have this deal that we set out from the start as well. When we started charging for Cuebids, we said, okay, but if you're 18 or below, you can get the hard subscription, the highest tier, for free. So just apply via like a junior thing. And then we wanted to expand that with like the federation. So there's obviously adult juniors as well that we could charge a little bit for if we can get help from the federations. So we have some deals like that where we like have group packages for juniors.
I mean, I would think if I were a bridge federation, I had my team qualify to go to the Bermuda Bowl, part of the package I would give them would be a subscription to Cuebids. Like, are there federations who do that?
Yeah, exactly. So if they have a team and they all love Cuebids or something like that, the thing is that maybe they're already subscribed. Most of the players that are going to Bermuda Bowl, they as it is now, they already have Cuebids. So it's a little bit interesting in that sense. But for sure, we have had a few team coaches or captains that reached out and like, we want to create a group on Cuebids and we want all the features. We want the PBN import, we want the private events and stuff like that, and we want to have all the players automatically hard subscribed stuff, and we have support for all of that. So
have you been talking to the ACBL since the contract with BBO ran out and they're looking for places to issue master points?
Yes, we have an ongoing conversation with Bronja, and we've just launched a few days ago that you can log into Cuebids with your ACBL account. So there is a new button, click on that, and you get like transported to ACBL's side, and you can log in with your credentials there and even create a new account based on that. So you don't actually have to go through the sign up if you're already a member of the ACBL.
What does that get me if I link my account to the ACBL?
Currently, it doesn't give you anything except for the convenience of logging in with that credential instead of having to create yet another bridge account. But then eventually we have, like I said, we have some talks about introducing some level of master points in Cuebids as well. But yeah, we're in early stages of how that's gonna.
Well, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, all right. Anything else folks need to know about how they should be using Cuebids to level up their game?
I think the main thing is that you should get on Cuebids if you're not already on Cuebids, and as soon as possible, like Daniel mentioned earlier, you should use the advanced robots to get a realistic practice. Because if you're bidding without the robots and if you're bidding with the basic robots, it's not really that realistic, but you can iron out your system for sure.
Yeah, and keep coming with your feedback. Cuebids have evolved a lot by user feedback and would not have been what it is today without engagement from the community, which has been fantastic.
Well, I know for me, it's been just an incredible tool. Greg and I have busy schedules, and finding time together when we're both free is hard, and it's easy to find 5 minutes here and there to do it. So it's just such a great concept, and it just keeps getting better. Every time there's a new feature, it's like, these guys are on top of it. So a big thank you from the Bridge community. And obviously you guys are doing something right because everybody at the top level is using this. So thank you guys, and just keep it up.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.